A veteran journalist appointed as the highest-ranking diplomat, 2021 crime stats revealed, and the government eyeing oil negotiations with Saudi Arabia. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Thursday, February 17th. This afternoon, it was formally announced that veteran journalist, media mogul, and nation builder, and our very own Wendell K. Jones has been appointed as the highest-ranking diplomat in the country, the Bahamas ambassador to the United States. Mr. Jones began his career as a journalist at the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas in 1972. He later moved on to becoming the founder and CEO of the Jones Communication Network, which houses Love 97, the Bahama Journal, and JCN News. On hand for the ceremony at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was Prime Minister Philip Davis.
Some call him the Walter Cronkite of Bahamian media and journalism, but you know, I'm pro-Bahamian. Walter Cronkite is the U.S. version of Wendell Jones. This trailblazing journalist is the publisher of the Bahamas' best-selling book, The 100 Most Outstanding Bahamians of the 20th Century, as well as his compendium, Bahamian Legends, Volumes 1 and 2. He also produced books on the Parliament and independence and beyond for the government of the Bahamas. In his work in broadcasting, he hosts two of the nation's most popular current affairs radio and television programs, Jones and Company and Issues of the Day. He has conducted exclusive interviews with many world leaders, including Baroness Margaret Thatcher, former Prime Minister of Great Britain, former U.S. Secretary of State, General Colin Powell, and former Common Secretary General, Chief Emeka Anyaukwu. Mr. Jones, the Bahamas, and I are confident that in your new role, you will continue to strengthen our diplomatic relations and advance our international interests in Washington, D.C.
The Prime Minister adds that the United States is the country's closest neighbor and largest trading partner in which we have close political and economic ties.
Mr. Jones is amply able to promote our objectives in the relationship as follows: the further cementing of commercial, economic, political, and cultural ties, expanding our range of contacts with all branches of the United States government, working with our consuls general to utilize the diaspora of Bahamians to promote the political and economic interests of our country, and work with the United States government on a range of geopolitical issues toward our mutual benefit. I am sure he can ably execute these objectives.
Mr. Jones also gave a few remarks.
While I did not seek to serve the Bahamas in this capacity, I must confess that it is a signal honor for me to be appointed as the ambassador to the United States of America. I thank the Prime Minister and his government once again for their confidence in me, and I pledge that I would dutifully serve our country with excellence, serving the interests of the Bahamian people who are here in the Bahamas and those of the diaspora. I pledge that we will do everything in our power to put the best foot of the Bahamas forward in everything that we do in the United States of America.
This is the first of many diplomatic announcements that will be rolling out over the next few days, according to Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell. Mr. Jones, from your family here at Love 97 News and JCN News, we wish you all the best. The 2021 crime figures are in this morning. Commissioner Paul Roll and members of the top brass of the Royal Bahamas Police Force met with members of the press virtually, indicating that crime in the country has not changed since last year. Here's Laurencia Smith with those numbers.
Overall crime has not changed in the Bahamas in 2021. Commissioner of Police Paul Roll sharing this information with reporters during the annual Meet the Press virtual press conference this morning. The top cop says that overall, the force was categorically successful in 7 areas of priority, adding that preliminary figures for 2021 indicate that major crimes remain unchanged, with 4,081 cases compared to 4,064 in 2020.
We recorded 119 homicides in 2021, including 104 in New Providence, 12 in Grand Bahama, and 3 in the Family Islands district. Victims between the ages of 18 and 35 represented 64% of all homicides. Retaliation and conflicts were the most common motives, representing 45% collectively. Fatal gunshot wound was the leading cause of death for homicides, accounting for 104 of those incidents. We were able to solve 56% of all homicides.
Data shows that armed robberies have increased by 33%, with 415 incidents compared to 313 in 2020. Robberies increased by 4%, with 96 incidents compared to 92 in 2020. Stolen vehicles increased by 29%, with 296 incidents compared to 230 in 2020. Commissioner Roll says that for the period in review of 2021, a total of 277 firearms, 3,430 rounds of ammunition were discovered or seized throughout the country.
ShotSpotter. During the year, the force responded to a total of 1,286 gunshot reports. 39% of 480 gunshot reports were confirmed by ShotSpotter technology. Of the scenes visited, we were able to arrest a number of individuals for firearm-related offenses. We collected 595 fired cartridge casings, 1 firearm, and 33 rounds of ammunition.
There were 20 police-involved shootings recorded last year, the same amount in 2020, 11 of which were deadly and 9 were non-deadly. Mr. Roll noted that he has established an internal team to review all police-involved shootings, which is chaired by Deputy Commissioner Clayton Fernandez, and Assistant Commissioner Lehman Delaveau is lead investigator in all police-involved shootings.
10 of the fatal injuries are before the coroner's court, 1 is before the disciplinary tribunal, and 1 police shooting is before the magistrate court. In 4 of the non-fatal incidents, the suspects that engaged police were all charged before the court.
There was a decline in sexual offenses recorded, while there was an increase in domestic matters. Also, suicides recorded a decline for 2021.
Sexual offenses. During the period under review, the Sexual Offenses Unit investigated a total of 179 cases. This figure represents a 16% decrease over 2020. For domestic matters, for the period in review, overall cases where domestic violence was a factor increased by 19% when compared to 2020. We saw a 40% decrease in suicides in the Bahamas with 6 incidents. All 6 victims were adult males over the age of 18.
The police chief says that the emergence of technologies within the force has assisted them with arrest and prosecution of countless individuals. I'm Laurencia Smith for JCN News.
The Bahamas may be seeing a decrease in prices when they head to the stores or to the gas station in the future. This much coming from Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson, as he announces that the government is seeking to negotiate oil from Saudi Arabia.
One of the things I think that we're looking toward greater dialogue with the Saudi Arabian government with, particularly as we face what we see happening globally and here at home, inflation. We recognize that higher prices in food, higher prices in fuel, higher prices in goods coming into the country are all linked to one key thing: fuel, the rising oil prices. And what Prime Minister Davis has been able to strategically do is to begin a discussion with the Saudi Arabian government of how we can work a network to access oil from them, to access fuel from them, so that it will cut down on the overhead costs coming into the country.
Mr. Watson also noted that Prime Minister Philip Davis met with wholesalers, oil dealers, some retailers, and the port to discuss how each can work together to help bring the price down for consumers.
To discuss how each can work together to help bring these prices down for consumers here at home. Prime Minister Davis, along with senior government officials from the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the Consumer Protection Commission, BIC, and BAMSI, met with stakeholders in the shipping industry, stakeholders as well in the petroleum industry, wholesalers, retailers, to discuss the rising costs caused by the pandemic and, of course, supply chain challenges. At the meeting, the Prime Minister emphasized his government's commitment to finding ways to keep prices low for Bahamians during this historic global inflation.
Mr. Watson was speaking during OPM's weekly press briefing. No timeline was given as to when those discussions with Saudi Arabia will be concluded. And we cannot wait any longer. These are the words of Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, Clay Sweeting, on the hot button topic of food security in the Bahamas. This as he informs the public that the Bahamas will actively join the global conversation of food security at the inaugural Food for Future Summit and Expo on the 22nd to the 23rd of this month. The conference, which will be held during Agriculture Week at the World Expo 2020 Dubai, will bring together over 100 countries and 150 exhibitors who are all keen on improving global food security. Minister Sweeting noted that the delegation's trip to Dubai will cost roughly $100,000 and will comprise of 19 individuals.
We must now think differently about how to feed ourselves. We must be bold in searching for ways to use new technologies and promote greater access to healthier food for our citizens. We are excited to make this journey to assist in securing food for the future of our country. Currently, we are already taking steps to the goal for food security. On Friday, February 18th, we will reopen the packing house at Hatchet Bay, Eleuthera, as a staple in the central Eleuthera community, which has been closed for 4 years. If we are serious about investing in agriculture, we must be serious about creating avenues for our farmers to sell their product at market values.
The ministry is creating an agribusiness center at Hatchet Bay that will serve as the template for Family Island farming communities. Additionally, renovations at the packing house at Cat Island have been completed, and they have moved a step closer to the ministry's goals by tabling and debating the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute Bill 2022 in Parliament.
We want to end the practice of food waste or produce. These undersized, overdeveloped, or perhaps oddly shaped produce have a value also. We look forward to not just enhancing farming, but to reviving the cottage industry and get more locally produced items on the shelves fresher and faster.
Minister Sweeting urges that collectively we can provide solutions to our challenges, and his ministry is heavily committed to making the Bahamas food secure and will continue to develop initiatives in achieving this vital goal. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.